As representatives of millions of rural Africans, the majority of whom live below the poverty line, we are urgently appealing to you, as celebrities with status, to stop undermining our globally recognized conservation efforts and our basic human right to sustainably use the natural resources on which our communities' livelihoods depend. You have lent your names to campaigns to stop hunting in Africa, and we acknowledge that you are doing so with the best of intentions, and we welcome your interests in our wildlife. But you have expressed these views without full appreciation of the implications for our people or our wildlife, and without consulting us, who live with and manage African wildlife, and who ultimately determine its future. These campaigns dismiss the beneficial impacts of regulated trophy hunting on local communities and our wildlife populations as myths. We'd like to share our perspectives and invite you to visit our communities to witness and understand the realities of conservation in Africa. Successful conservation must start with those of us who live alongside dangerous large animals whose value is deeply ingrained in our cultures. During colonial times, European colonialists removed our rights to manage and benefit from these animals, and in many instances forcefully evicted us from our lands, often to make way for protected areas. A disaster for conservation, our traditions, and our livelihoods. Post-independent governments restored our rights, integrating wildlife into rural economies through inclusive conservation approaches. This provided socio-economic incentives to live with and sustainably manage our wildlife. On average, 50 to 90% of these economic incentives come from sustainable, regulated, humane, and scientifically verified hunting methods. This has led to increasing wildlife populations, in stark contrast to other regions in the world where biodiversity loss and habitat destruction accelerate at disastrous rates. Though you may view elephants, lions, and other wildlife through a romantic, idolized lens, our daily reality of living with these magnificent and valued yet dangerous animals requires more pragmatism. We worry daily that our children may be killed on their way to school, or that our ability to provide for our families will be destroyed within a few hours by elephants in our fields or large predators among our livestock. Some facts for consideration. As recently as the 1st of July 2020, an elephant killed a 22-year-old man in Zimbabwe as he walked home from his fields. Large numbers of people are killed in Africa by dangerous wild animals per year, injuring dozens more and destroying the livelihoods of thousands. Recently, 2 Zimbabwean siblings disappeared from their home. Only the dismembered head of the 2-year-old was recovered from a suspected hyena attack, and the 4-year-old has never been found. Despite this, elephants, lions, and other species live amongst us and are multiplying because we want them to. The harsh reality is that if incentives for us to conserve and share our land with wildlife are removed, the future in Africa will be as bleak as that of the wolves, brown bears, and other large carnivores that were once plentiful in the UK, Europe, and the US. We appreciate that for those not familiar with the realities of rural Africa, it may seem a counter-intuitive conservation strategy. But if your objective is conservation, not solely recognizing individual animal rights, we call upon you, before passing judgment, to understand and consider our perspectives from a conservation method that recognizes the basic human rights of our peoples to manage and benefit from sustainable use of our natural resources. If we cannot feed our families through humane and sustainable use of wildlife, we will have no option but to adopt land use that will invariably destroy our beautiful natural landscapes and exterminate our treasured wild animals. We are tired of people from elsewhere, far removed from our realities, talking on our behalf and undermining our successes. We are an integral part of the solution to illegal wildlife trade poaching, and unsustainable use of biodiversity. It's disappointing that while animal rights campaigns to stop hunting have raised enormous sums of money, we have yet to see evidence of those funds conserving African wildlife or benefiting any of our communities in their role as custodians of that wildlife. What and who do these campaigns benefit? Their impact will be to remove our incentives to manage and live side by side with wildlife. Imposing worldviews amplified through your powerful, influential voices results in disastrous policies that undermine our rights and conservation successes. We recognize and respect the rights for you to discuss how best to manage African wildlife. However, these discussions must be informed by our voices as custodians of this wildlife. At a minimum, this should acknowledge our community's right to earn a livelihood through culturally appropriate and sustainable management of our resources. Anything less is to put the animals' rights before the rights of Africans. We write this letter as the world is demanding the acknowledgement and righting of past and present wrongs and belief systems based on privilege. We want you to hear our voices. Our conservation successes, lived realities, are not myths.